president would sweep elections next year to lead and he basically head the country once again, has died of prolonged illness at the age of 80 while under treatment at Dhaka's Apollo Hospital. The chairperson of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has died at 6 o'clock this morning, according to a statement issued by her party. She was under treatment for the past 36 days since she had been admitted on the 23rd of November with infection in her heart and infection in her lungs. The BNP chairperson and former Prime Minister, the national leader, Begum Khaleda Zia, passed away today just after the dawn press. The party said in a statement that the first female Prime Minister of Bangladesh had long been battling multiple health complications, which included liver cirrhosis, arthritis, diabetes, and chronic issues affecting her kidneys, her lungs, her heart, as well as her eyes. And this comes 5 days after her son returned after being in exile for 17 years in UK.
It's a sad day for your party, of course, for the country as well. How do you remember Begum Khaleda Zia?
Yeah, it is very much painful for us. Khaleda Zia has been passed. We expected that she will be able to see the election, but before that she died. All the nation is basically shocked. Tarique Rehman is taking over the role now, and we're expecting that next election he will win. We want to see him as our next Prime Minister.
I have nothing to say about this day. This is very much painful, and all the inhabitants of Dhaka city and all over the world, they are shocked very much. Actually, it's a great loss to us. Begum Khaleda Zia is not only a Prime Minister, he's a mother. Actually, all the young guys and all the Bangladeshis, he's the mother.
Well, let me tell you that right now NDTV is reporting from right outside the hospital, the Evercare hospital here in Dhaka, where for the last 36 days, Begum Khaleda Zia, the former Prime Minister, the chairperson of the BNP, was admitted. Her condition in the last few days had worsened and she was put on ventilator. And today in the morning, it was declared that she has passed away at 6 a.m. Her son, you would also, let me first show you around. In fact, you would see those posters of mourning and tributes which have come up here in this area. The entire area around the hospital has been cordoned off with massive security arrangement which has been done. The BGB and the local police has been pressed into action. If you have no business coming to this hospital, then the road about 300 meters from here has been closed and nobody is being allowed. Begum Khaleda Zia, the activists and of course people from the BNP also present at this moment here. Huge presence of her supporters, many emotional, in fact, thinking about her. As you said, she was the first woman Prime Minister of Bangladesh. In 1991, she became the Prime Minister of Bangladesh and was in her first term was till 1996, then later into between 2001 and 2006 as well. Since 1984, she has been the chairperson of the party BNP. And you would see a few of her supporters, of BNP supporters, wearing those scarves and mufflers of the party symbol and the party colors that you have gathered outside this hospital.
Now, at least 5 houses of a Hindu family were set on fire, and this took place in the Muslim-dominated nation's Firuzpur district in what is suspected to be a targeted attack on minorities. The incident occurred on the 28th of December, over a week after 29-year-old garment worker Deepu Chandra Das was attacked by a mob, lynched, and his body set on fire. And this is due to allegations that were being made on the 18th of December. NDTV spoke to the Saha family over the phone from Dhaka as they continue to be in fear. They refused to come on record and just said that they don't know how the fire started and the police are investigating the cause. Now, Donald Trump said on Monday that the United States had hit an area in Venezuela where boats are loaded with drugs. The move marks the first known time Washington has carried out land operations in Venezuela since a pressure campaign against the president of Venezuela. It was not immediately clear what target was hit, nor which part of the U.S. government acted. Meanwhile, Pentagon has carried out yet another deadly strike, and this has taken place in the Pacific. The U.S. Southern Command described the latest victims of the strikes as two male narco-terrorists. The ex-post stated that the vessel was engaged in narco-trafficking operation. My colleague Vishal joining us to get us more on this. Vishal, take us to the latest.
So what we do know so far is that this is the first time US President Donald Trump acknowledging the fact that the US indeed did strike a land target in Venezuela in its pressure campaign, what the US government calls it as a counter narcotics campaign, but really an escalation in the tensions between US and Venezuela that we have been seeing over the past couple of months. Now moving on from targeting smaller ships that they say are being used to spread narcotics and transport narcotics. Now this time a drug facility and a port that was being used by these boats to transport narcotics. This is what has been targeted. Now, which departments were involved in this strike is yet to be determined. But what the details that we know so far is that this strike was done yesterday, and it was basically, the target was essentially a storage area where drugs were stored and then moved on to boats and then transported. So what the US government says is that this is part of their counter narcotics campaign, but what this could mean for the tensions between the US and Venezuela is yet to be seen, because Trump has indicated that he is not backing away from any sort of direct conflict with Venezuela either.
Vishal, thank you so much for getting us the very latest. Moving on now, let's get you news coming in from Russia. And it's Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov that has said that Ukraine had attempted to strike President Vladimir Putin's residence. However, it is Zelenskyy that has dismissed those allegations that are being made by Russia of the alleged attack, claiming these are calling the claims absolute lies. Now, Zelenskyy has dismissed the claim as typical Russian lies, intended to give the Kremlin an excuse to continue attacks on Ukraine. This comes about on the heels after the US President has met with Zelenskyy. Now, US President has said that he was very angry after Putin informed him about the alleged attack on call.
I heard about it this morning.
Did Putin tell you
You know
about
who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. That's no good. It's no good.
Russian officials
Don't forget, you know, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, you know, it's a delicate period of time.
But
this is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they're offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin, and I was very angry about it.
And it's US President Donald Trump who met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This comes in close on the heels of his meeting with Zelenskyy. Now, meeting with Netanyahu has taken place at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Netanyahu's visit has focused to create fresh momentum for the US-brokered Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Furthermore, Trump warned Iran that the US could carry out further military strikes if the country attempts to reconstitute its nuclear program. Netanyahu said that Trump would receive the Israel Prize, a prestigious honor that's been historically awarded to an Israeli citizen.
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup.
So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli. And we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump. for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people.
While UK, this is of course moving on now to Ukrainian President Zelenskyy, who has said withdrawing from the Donbas area carries big risks for Ukraine and a referendum will not really be positive. Zelenskyy made the comments during a sit-down interview with the Western media. Now, it is the United States that's offering Ukraine security guarantees for 15 years as part of a proposed peace plan. That's according to Zelenskyy, who expressed a preference for a longer commitment to basically ward off Russian aggression.
All the parties have to understand that the worst way is to go out from the Donbas. It will be big risks for Ukraine, not acceptable by Ukrainians, but they will, just personally, and referendum will not be positive.
And Saudi Arabia bombed Yemen's port city of Mukalla over a shipment of weapons for a separatist force there had arrived from the UAE. Now, the United Arab Emirates did not immediately acknowledge the strike. According to Saudi state media, the ship's crew had disabled tracking devices aboard the vessels and unloaded a large amount of weapons. This was done in support of the Southern Transitional Council's forces. It wasn't immediately clear if there were any kind of casualties from the strike or if any other military besides Saudi Arabia's took part in this.
This is a group of separatists in southern Yemen who have sought to make their own separate country in that region. The STC, as it's known, has been backed by the United Arab Emirates in their fight against the Houthis, and the Emiratis have been arming them. But last week, we did see Saudi Arabia launch an airstrike trying to warn the STC off from 2 new governorates it's taken in Yemen. Those fighters remained in those governorates, and now we're seeing the Saudis launch this airstrike.
And we saw China firing rockets towards Taiwan today and deployed new assault ships alongside bomber. We're talking about bomber aircraft and warships to encircle the island. The moves marks the second day of China's most extensive war games aimed at rehearsing a blockade. China announced live firing exercises in the sea and also in the airspace of 5 locations surrounding Taiwan and off the Chinese coast, lasting until about 3:30 in the afternoon. Naval and Air Force units conducted drills focusing on strikes against maritime and aerial targets. These exercises also included anti-submarine operations and were strategically positioned to the north and the south of democratically governed Taiwan. China's top diplomat has slammed the U.S. military sales to Taiwan as China's military staged a second day of drills around the island. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has said that the most senior Chinese official to comment on the sale so far has blasted the Taiwan Independence Forces in a speech reviewing China's foreign relations. Now, he's gone on to reiterate that China has resolved for complete reunification with Taiwan, a self-ruled island that split from China amid a civil war that took place back in 1949.
台湾问题是中国的内政，是中国核心利益中的核心。针对台独势力的不断挑衅以及美国大规模对台售武，我们当然要坚决反对，有力反制。今年是台湾回归祖国80周年，实现祖国完全统一，是在依法维护国家的主权和领土完整，是我们必须完成的历史使命。
Protests have erupted in Tehran and shopkeepers have poured into the streets to protest the declining economy. Business owners closed shop and protested the free-falling national currency. The protesters turned violent in several cities as crowds chanted against the ruling government. While the slogans initially focused on economic issues on the first day, the second day's chants displayed a transition from the economic frustration to explicit political dissent. The Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police, or the AFP, have said that the 2 alleged Bondi attackers were not part of a broader terrorist cell. The Commissioner said that there had been much speculation about the alleged shooter's visit to the southern Philippines, but the speculation, which once drew a small number of foreign militants aligned with Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, Now, Barrett has said that the AFP have ongoing investigations into those who corrupt Islam.
CCTV footage capturing their stay in the Philippines has been provided to the AFP, and we are currently reviewing that material. What this points to, and I will again advise this is a point-in-time assessment, is that these individuals are alleged to have acted alone. There is no evidence to suggest these alleged offenders were part of a broader terrorist cell or were directed by others to carry out an attack. However, I want to be clear, I am not suggesting that they were there for tourism.
New South Wales Police in Sydney will deploy more than 2,500 officers to patrol the streets of the Australian city on New Year's Eve. The move marks the largest number of officers ever deployed for the event. Talking to reporters in Sydney, it was the Premier, Chris Minns, who highlighted how terrorists thrive on fear.
We want to make it clear that if families and the community are thinking about coming to Sydney Harbour to spend some time in the community with their friends, we're hoping that they do it. Terrorism thrives on fear. What the terrorists hope is that people crawl up in a ball and don't go about living their normal lives. But we need to show defiance in the face of this evil, and the best way of doing that is to spend some time with your friends and your family on New Year's Eve on Sydney Harbour.
Now, Russia said on Monday that its armed forces had taken control of one settlement in the Donetsk region. Meanwhile, Ukraine reported on the same day that its troops had repelled multiple attacks from Russian forces. Russian Ministry of Defense said that during the past 24 hours, its forces also targeted Ukraine electronic warfare stations, counter battery radars and ammunition depots. Now, Russian air defense systems intercepted and destroyed 2 Ukrainian missiles and 140 fixed-wing drones. US military has, in fact, in the southern part of Netherlands, removed 2 displays recognizing black troops who helped to liberate Europe from the Nazis. Visitors have filled the guestbook with objections. The move came after the US President Donald Trump issued a series of executive orders ending diversity, equity, as well as inclusive. This is the inclusion program. Now, the removal, carried out without public explanation, has angered Dutch officials, the families of the US soldiers and the local residents as well.
People in Limburg area and the Netherlands, they didn't expect it at all. They know about what is happening in the States with their putting people out of the history and out of the websites in Arlington and in the Ministry of Defense, etc. But never we thought that that could be also happening here in the Netherlands, and that's why everybody is very disappointed and sad about that.
The 2-time former world heavyweight champion from Britain, Anthony Joshua, was in a stable state in hospital after being involved in a car crash. This took place in Nigeria. The crash killed 2 people who were close friends and team members as well. Footage has now been accessed. The footage that you can see from the scene showed Joshua wincing in pain as he was pulled from the wreckage of the crash. According to the spokesperson for the Federal Road Safety, preliminary investigation has indicated that the vehicle was travelling beyond the legally prescribed speed limit. This led to losing control during an overtaking maneuver, and the car crashed into a stationary truck. Now, survivors and families of the victims of a deadly train crash in southern Mexico demanded answers. These answers are being demanded as the government has promised to investigate what caused a train to derail on a rail line connecting the Pacific Ocean with the Gulf of Mexico. 13 people, including a teenager, died when the train with 250 people on board went off the rails on Sunday. Nearly 110 people have been injured in the tragedy.
Pues ha sido algo muy complicado para todas las familias que llevaban o usaron el servicio del ferrocarril, porque en su momento no hubo suficiente información, no estuvimos velando, ahí amanecimos.
Ayúdenme a encontrar a mi nieta Luisa Camila Serrano Moreno, que no la encontramos, ni en ningún hospital, por ningún lado, tampoco están los fallecidos. Por favor, público, tóquense el corazón, es mi nieta.
Now, according to state media, North Korean leader has visited a facility for producing weapons. The visit took place on Sunday. The official Korean statement is awaited. It is common for North Korean media to report news days after it really happens. Kim said that these rockets will be the main strike means of the North Korean military and can be used for strategic attack. The official report did not give any details about the range or the payload of the rocket system. Times Square is officially ready to bring in the New Year as far as the New Year Eve celebration is concerned. Crowds gather to watch Jeffrey Strauss of Countdown Entertainment gather to test the confetti that will be tossed at the Broadway Plaza. Now, come Wednesday, 3,000 pounds of it will dazzle the crowds when the clock hits midnight. Planet Fitness has been the long-time sponsor of the event that takes place on Times Square. The spectacular that is watched by millions.
We are blanketing Times Square. 5!
Slipping into a short break, back with a whole lot more. Stay with us.
It's nice to have choices in life. Tony here chooses to get a new phone every year by exchanging his old one. Don't worry, Mike, you can get a new phone too. Big love to Gordon, who chooses a lifetime warranty to keep his phone lasting longer, just like his romance. Oh, love it. Keep your phone lasting longer, or you could get a new phone every year. The choice is yours at Vodafone.
Deborah, stop horsing around. Let's play Zebra Bingo. With branded bingo rooms like Fluffy Favourites Bingo, Deal or No Deal Bingo, and Clover Rollover Bingo. And more classic bingo games than you could shake your tail at. There's over £6.5 million in bingo prizes to be won every month on the Bingo Network. Come on, let's play Zebra Bingo.
It starts small. Something you think you can carry. You pretend you're fine, but you're not. No one should struggle alone. You can help Mind be there before it snowballs, because intervention can save lives. Donate to Mind now to stop the snowball.
Rajasthan is history, culture, and much more. And I have been reporting on all things royal for more than 25 years.
The colors, the culture, and the complexities of the Northeast is different from the rest of the country. I have been bringing the Northeast closer to the capital for over 15 years. Madhya Pradesh is the heart of India, and I have been capturing its every beat for over 10 years, covering the corridors of power, what is said, what is left unsaid, and what it actually means for you and me. I have it all covered.
Kashmir is often called paradise on earth, a region that has been in a state of flux from conflict to India's crowning glory. I have been reporting and decoding Jammu and Kashmir for last 3 decades.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World.
Welcome back. Now, the US government has granted an annual license to Samsung Electronics to bring in chip manufacturing to their facilities in China for 2026. The approval is a temporary relief as far as South Korean firms and follows a US decision earlier this year to revoke license waivers given to some tech companies. Samsung and SK Hynix and TSMC had benefited from exemptions to Washington's sweeping restrictions on chip-related exports to China. But the privilege known as validated end-user status will end tomorrow, the 31st of December. And now let's get you some entertainment news, and this is in regard to Hollywood stars Idris Elba as well as Cynthia Erivo, to a 102-year-old judo instructor, have been named in King Charles III's New Year's Honor List. The list is an annual tradition that recognizes people for their contribution to UK's public life. Elba was knighted for his contribution for the services to young people after he and his wife Sabrina funded the Elba Hope Foundation to target issues such as knife crime. One of the stars of Wicked was named a member of the British Empire for services to music and drama. And Beyonce has been declared a billionaire by the Forbes group and joined the world's wealthiest people, including her husband Jay-Z. The 44-year-old Grammy-winning singer is now the 5th billionaire musician. The announcement follows after the success of her Cowboy tour, which grossed more than $400 million in ticket sales. Beyonce started her career as a member of the pop group Destiny's Child, and the artist went on to launch her solo career in early 2000s. She also holds the record for the most awarded and most nominated in the history of the Grammys. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition. News and updates will continue. Keep watching.
Given the fact that India invested so much, the Prime Minister himself invested so much in the India-America relationship, are you extremely disappointed with the Trump administration and how transactional they're choosing to be?
Well, look, every government and certainly every American president has their own way of approaching the world. I grant you that in the case of President Trump, it's radically different from how his predecessors did. I think he himself would say that. We have right now a set of issues which the relationship is grappling with. I mean, to me, it's, look, foreign policy doesn't always, everything doesn't go your way all the time on all the issues, on all the relationships. So there will be issues, you know. It is with the US today, it could be with somebody else tomorrow. What you try to do is to engage and work through those issues, and we believe that there can be a landing point for our respective trade interests. Obviously, that is something which will be negotiated and negotiated hard because it has an implication for livelihoods in this country. You know, at the end of the day, for us, the interests of the workers and the farmers and the small business and the middle class matters. So when we look at a trade agreement with a country like the United States, you have to be extremely judicious about your position, about what you put on the table.
How optimistic are you at the moment? Are we days away, weeks away, months away, potentially years away from just the first part of the trade deal?
Well, look, diplomacy, you're always optimistic because I'm not saying that as a way of stalling you, which I am, but also because, look, suddenly things can turn around. It can turn around on one weekend. I could tell you on Friday, oh, I don't think it's likely, and maybe